Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Virche Evermore. Guys, I'm so fucking work is crazy and I'm tired. I'm mentally exhausted, but I'm here for this shit. So, game, I'm gonna need you to not traumatize me right now. Aight? Like, I can't handle it. But anyway, oh god. Hold on. Ugh. Got an itch in my ear, like hair poking in your ear under your head. I just felt weird. Anyway, sorry. So, we were in Mathis's route now, so hanging out with Mathis, because Jean is a good ass wingman and is like, I think he needs this bitch to come clean for him. And yeah, that's it. We need to do some dusting. There was air quotes around that you couldn't say, but anyway. I finished cleaning up after the simple meal and gave him some water to drink. He was able to drink the soup without a problem, so I believed he could eat solids starting tomorrow. As I thought about what kind of ingredients to use, I brought up the next subject. Mathis, what are you planning on doing from now on? I was thinking of taking a correspondence course to get my thoughts back in order. Of course, that means I'm still planning on staying inside, but if I suddenly went outside, I think it would only worry Jean. I would agree! Could you imagine me like, I think I'm gonna go for a walk, and John's like, oh my god, you're gonna go jump off a cliff, aren't you? Yeah, listen, Jean can't handle too much change out of Mathis right now. Mathis was glancing a number of times in the direction where Jean was probably waiting downstairs. I could easily imagine Jean pacing at the base of the stairs waiting for results, right? Not too much results. Like, yeah, no, he ate. Oh, thank God. He's gonna go out for a long walk. Oh God, not off a short cliff, right? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta pace the man. I see. Jean was somewhat sad when he came to the orphanage. I think he'll feel more at ease if you stay nearby for now. In any case, you should recover to full health first. Right. But if you don't mind, could you please make something that Jean likes too? It may come as a surprise, but he actually likes oily dishes. That is surprising. Judging by his slender body and graceful manners, I always saw him as someone who preferred vegetable dishes. Girl, slender bodies in this don't tell you jack shit because everybody is, like, wafy, okay? Every one of the men in this is a twinky little waif, and I'm here for it because that's the way I like it. But I'm just saying, even Adolphe was like, you're like, oh, he's in the core and he's out. No, have you seen his slender, sticky hips? Girl, you can't judge the types of fan bodies with what they like to eat. They all delicate, okay? Like, have you looked around you at any of them? For God's sakes. Isn't it? He always tried to hide the parts about him that he thinks aren't a good fit for the Claude family. But I've been causing a lot of trouble to him lately, so I think it's about time that he eats something he likes. Mathis is good to Jean as well. They're a little friend thing. I mean, it's like master-servant kind of relationship, but like, I was gonna say butler-servant. No, but the master-servant relate, but it's not even that. Like, obviously, like, Jean could have fucking pieced out and left at any time, but you know what I mean? After seeing the shit that Mathis has been through, he's like, no, I can't leave this poor boy alone. He deserves better. And then Mathis is like, I'm problematic for him. He deserves the world. Like, stop it. I love it. Aww. Plus, the only person Mathis has is Jean now that his brother's dead. You know what I mean? The only other person that cared about you. Sure, maybe in the back of your mind, you're like, he only cared about me because he was paid to, but you know that ain't the case. Plus, like, if he cared about his job that much, if it was all about his job, he wouldn't have brought you fucking bread. He was like, I wish I could have snuck you more, but this is all I could manage to stuff in my pockets. But, like, he wouldn't have done that if his job was more important to him than Mathis was. You know what I mean? So, like, he's a good butler boy. Why can't we romance him too? He's so gonna die, isn't he? God, everyone's gonna die. If anything were to happen to you, Master, I'll lose every reason to continue living. And that right there. I forgot about that. I've thought this before, but you and John are really like a family. They are. I hope that's not disrespectful to the memory of your brother. I know, I'm happy you said that. I've always seen him as my brother's best friend. He's my older brother, the only precious person left in my family. He's my other older brother. Sorry, I was like, wait, what? Other older. I misread that. That's my fault. He's my other older brother. I really appreciate how he continues to stand by someone as pathetic as me. I'm sure Jean. Oh, that's me. I'm sure Jean would be happy to hear that. And the thing is like, you can't argue. You want to be like, you're not, but they actually kind of are. But like, understandably so. You didn't choose this. Like, you were beaten down by your parents at every step of your fucking life. So like, I can understand why. I wouldn't say pathetic. He's translating it as pathetic, but it's the I'm timid and shy and awkward and introverted and everything is and like everything scares me and it's not healthy mentally, but it's kind of like and you're thinking of all these failures you have and that's because your parents made you think that you were a failure and your awkwardness is directly related to that. So it's like you're not really yes, on the surface you could be like, if you didn't know him, you're like, yeah, no, I mean I could see the pathetic part, but it's like, but it's not really. You're only like stuck in this I'm pathetic, let me act pathetic, and you keep this cycle is because your parents abused you so goddamn much, but he's not really pathetic at all. You know what I mean? You're just sad. Like that sounds bad, like, that's sad. It's like, no, but you know what I mean? Like he's sad. He's broken. So like I mean, seriously, I don't think a pathetic person actually would have plowed a car into some dude. Still goddamn funny. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sad that his parents' cycle of abuse is making him feel this way. But, to be fair, you're kind of leaning into it a little bit too much. But you know what? It's going to take time for him to get out of this. All right? I don't blame him. Like, you need to start working on it. And you're trying. I think he's trying. No. But anyway, stop biting me or I'm going to chuck you downstairs, bird. Bitey again. Hope so. Oh, that's right. I need to thank Jean, too. A kind and wonderful maid like you inspired me to get back on my feet. And I owe you and Jean my life. My maid outfit was a bit dusty now. But Mathis's face was slightly red after looking at me from top to bottom. Mathis, do you mean that I have your approval to work here? Is that right? To be honest, I don't really want to trouble you, but, well... Mathis suddenly picked up a sheet of white paper. On it, he quickly wrote something with a pen. So, here. He showed me the paper filled with words written in beautiful script. Is this a contract? The contract contained all the terms and conditions that Jean outlined for me regarding my employment here. He wrote that awful fast. It took him like 4 seconds. He actually remembered every detail from my explanation. As I looked at the contract in surprise, the fact that you remembered every detail, I noticed he added a new item into my work conditions. Mathis held onto the edge of the paper nervously, squeezed out a new request. I'd like you to spend as much time conversing with me as possible. So sweet and adorable. He read what he wrote as a new item on the contract. Mathis. She's blushing. I'm sorry for being so haughty despite refusing you once. But I feel much more at peace when I'm speaking with you. I guess my desire for that must have won out over my guilt. So would you please enter into this new contract until I can find my way forward? His wish was for a peaceful future and harmony in his daily life. It was a sign of his determination that he'd raise his head and move forward. Well, this is a very nice condition. Aww, is he blushing now too? I took the contract and pen from him and signed my name with finality. There was probably only one answer I could give to the shy master of this house. If you don't mind a troublesome maid like me, it would be my pleasure. I'll do my very best in the time we're together. Master Claude? Huh? Master? Why are you calling me that all of a sudden? Oh, he likes it. He's got a kink. You're like, Master, and he's like, oh! It didn't trigger for him when Jean... Listen, if Jean called me Master, it would trigger that kink for me. now that I'm your maid, shouldn't I address you properly as a form of respect? You don't have to worry about something petty like that. Just address me the way you did before, please. He's like, God, if you call me master, I'm going to get so turned on, it's going to be ridiculous. Girl, don't tempt him. But stop looking at me like that. If you don't listen to me, I'm going to write into the contract a clause that'll force you to talk to me like usual. Thank goodness. If he was able to raise his voice like this, he'd surely be fine moving forward. Joan's like, I knew damn well he just needed a bitch in the house. We could have brought any of the other friends, but no, he's like, I think Mathis is attracted to you, so maybe I'll bring you in the house. Later, after several more bowls of soup, Mathis came down the stairs in an apologetic manner. When Jean embraced him with such strength, they couldn't help but notice how happy he was. Oh, I wish there was a CG for that. Like, Mathis just wide-eyed and slightly awkward, and Jean just beaming and so happy. Squeezing his tiny little frame. Oh, come on. Come on. I can picture it in my head. They really are like brothers. Jean thought that my foster mother and I were similar, but I felt it applied to them too. Yeah, but he said, like, wow, you're so similar. Is that like foreshadowing for something that we should have kept our mind on? I'm just saying. They do feel similar in a lot of ways. Or maybe it's just that Mathis slowly became similar to Jean throughout the years. I would have believed them if they had initially introduced themselves as brothers. Salome's really our real mom. After that, Jean led me around the mansion and explained my work in practical terms, and I made some more soup for us for dinner. With my first full day of work to start tomorrow, I got changed and went outside. Are you sure you want to walk home? It's gotten dark, so if you don't mind, I can drive you home. Drive. The little split second of that CG. It's fine. There's still a lot of people outside, so I'm sure I'll be fine. You still have to get more rest, so please don't worry, Mathis. Seeing how desperate I was to avoid Mathis's offer, Jean guessed my intentions and let out a chuckle. See that look on his face right there? That's exactly the one he would have had on his face as he's squeezing Mathis when he, in the imaginary CG. I would be more than happy to drive you home in the master's stead, but I'm afraid I have some personal business to attend to. I am truly sorry I cannot help. No, you've helped me a lot today with everything in the mansion, Jean. You've been a very quick to pick up on you. I thought he was gonna say you've been a very quick study. So my brain input words that weren't there. You've been very quick to pick up on each task, so I consider it time well spent. I must say, it really is a shame you won't be living here. Forgive my boldness, but won't you perhaps reconsider? If you're gonna get all up in my face with that beautiful face of yours and ask me to live here and reconsider, I don't know why she's saying no. Yes. What? Yeah, Mathis is here, and I know it's his route, but you know what? My heart and my eyes will always be with Jean in this route. I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes. I'd feel much more at ease if you were with the master as often as possible. Thank you for saying so, but... Hey, come on, Jean. Stop making Spacey feel uncomfortable. Oh, I'm not uncomfortable. I mean, I'm uncomfortable, but on the wrong one. Like, oh, I'm delightfully uncomfortable. Like, oh, you're making me squirm and blush. Not in a bad way. To add, asking her to live here would cause a major misunderstanding with you-know-who. Jean suddenly stepped back to create some distance from me. You-know-who? Do you have a arranged fiancé? Is this an arranged marriage and I'm gonna have to oh no. Who are you talking about? Oh, that's right. I haven't brought this up before, but Jean actually... allow me. Ah! Now my heart is broken! There's a woman I'm in love with. Huh? Oh. Oh. It's not me. Listen, I understand he's a side character. We're not romancing him, so of course, like, he got to have his own life. But it hurts me because I want to romance him, and you just told me I can't because, like, he's in love with someone else, and I don't. I don't like that. That hurts my soul. Love, as in, you have a lover, Jean? Yes, we're sworn to each other for life. She's a beautiful woman who I do not deserve. I'm so heartbroken, I'm gonna cry. Game, what did I say? Don't hurt me. Just to clear any misunderstanding, her beauty is more than just her outward appearance. I'm just gonna pretend he's talking about me. It encompasses her compassion toward others, her graceful mannerisms, everything. I see. Although I didn't ask, he seized the opportunity to describe how great she was. Could we not? Could we have not included this at all? It hurts. I love him so much. It's not fair. It's like, oh God, Hugo's got a woman too, doesn't he? Oh, stop it. Stop taking my side characters. Jean has a tendency to talk forever about her, so you can leave now. I have to admit, I've never met her before. Huh? Really? Okay, that sounds sus as fuck. He's avoiding the subject, saying that he wants to wait until the perfect moment, and he hasn't even told me her name. I see. I wonder who she is. I'm a bit relieved. I feel like I wonder, why would she say I'm a bit me? I was like, why would she say I'm a bit relieved? And my brain triggered I'm a bit relieved because I think he's full of shit and he's just saying, oh yeah, no, I have this wonderful woman, because he's literally crazy like me and it's an imaginary woman. Just like me and all my harem men, right? 2D boyfriends, okay? So I'm relieved because I don't think she's real, and that makes me feel better. But I feel like character Spacey would say, I wonder who she is. You know? No, she says I'm a bit relieved. This is awkward. I'm not really doing good with the choices this time. Like, huh. I thought that Jean was only focused on taking care of you, Mathis. So I'm a bit relieved to see him like this. Oh, okay. See, I wasn't getting that from it. I gotta adjust my pillow. Sorry, bird. My back hurts, and I gotta adjust my pillow to adjust it under my lower back. I'm sorry. Here you go, buddy. Okay, I get where they were going with the relief now, but like, from the choices, it's like, Mathis is like, I've never met her. He's never told me her name. I'm relieved. Because it sounds like like, that's a weird, that was a weird place to put the choice when the I'm relieved is more like, oh, I'm just so relieved he's got someone, because I thought his only care was you. I still wonder now if this woman's real. He's just like, oh yeah, we're together forever, and he's never brought her over, never introduced her. There's something suspicious about that. It's either wildly inappropriate because, like, theme of the game and so much inappropriate shit, or he's full of shit because he just doesn't want Mathis to worry like we are right now. Oh God, I was worried his sole focus was you. At least he's got something else going on. You know what I mean? And he doesn't want to have to justify, like, no, I'm happy just focusing and taking care of Mathis. Or he doesn't want Mathis to feel guilty that he's his only focus, you know? Anyway. Yes, now having him speak for hours about her can be bothersome at times. Although you're ranting and raving about this woman that might not exist. Or it's a woman you love from afar and you're just in your imaginary Delulu land. I don't know. Regardless, Jean looks genuinely happy whenever he talks about her. Why couldn't it be me? Seeing him like this makes me feel like he's sharing his happiness with me. I'm not as depressed about Jean having a lover or a girlfriend as I would be if it were Oliver and Pio Fiore. Okay, listen. The only reason I checked into the Visconti Manor, like, Gil, I do love you, don't get me wrong, but I'm here for Oliver. Okay? And, like, if Oliver were like this, I'd have died. Okay? He's my best side character boy. Okay, Ginia and everyone in Radiant Tale are my best side character boys. They're tied up there with Oliver, okay? But, like, most of the time you're like, oh, the side characters are pretty, but I don't fall in love with them. Now I've just become a greedy whore, and I want them all. Hugo's adorable. Jean is gorgeous. Epicine's kind of pretty, but he's also kind of a douche. I'm not really sure where I land on him. He's nice to look at. He's one of the side characters where you're like, he's nice to look at. I have a feeling, though, you're going to be not the kind of douche that I like. Science kind of the douche that I like. You're like, you're kind of like such an ass, but I'm here for it. It's adorable and charming for me. Epicene just seems like the other kind. Where you're like, no, he's the douchey side character. So you're nice to look at. You're pretty, don't get me wrong. But I don't necessarily think I want to embrace you in my man harem. Hugo? Absolutely. Jean? Fuck yeah. We're going to have to kill his girlfriend off, but I think that'll be easy. We're dead, so. I got no problems with this, actually. She had an unfortunate accident. Gosh darn, I'm so sorry, Jean. Oh. It's not like Radiant Tale where almost, I feel like 90% of the side characters, I was like, I'm taking you with me. And I'm mad the game didn't give you a route. Ginia! And then some. Then some. Celeste, God. It's just full of hot side character. Anyway. Hoping that their happiness wouldn't be brutally taken away. I didn't even see that line as I was actually over here hoping it would be. Okay. Whoops. Game's calling my ass out. It's like, ahem. Uncle, are you there? I stepped into the Lycoris field in search of the watchman. The only response to my query was the gentle sound of wind stirring the flower petals. I can't go into detail, but there's still a seed of budding flower that will bring more depth to this land. The little you experienced thus far is merely the prologue. The mysterious deaths by suicide, the ruthless murders by force, the slow encroaching death by this land's curse, and other deaths that have yet to be discovered. Not one of them's been resolved. Oh, and I forgot, not that it matters, but I'm sure someone will have pointed it out. But again, none of these have posted yet. None of this. It's gonna start posting in like a couple of days. But like, yeah, I gotta start posting it this weekend, I think. But none of these have posted. But so I'm sure somebody mentioned it because I think it was like a couple parts ago, and I was like, wait, I thought Act 2 was when you started the character routes, but it's not. I noticed that too when I was going through the flow chart. I was like, oh, we were already in Act 2 before we got here, so I don't really know what constitutes Act 2, where maybe Act 3 is the character. I don't know. Listen, I have no idea. But anyway, doesn't matter. I don't know, I felt like the need to share it, but Mathis and Jean. I was afraid that their futures were in danger, so I came all the way out here to ask for more details. The person who issued that warning was nowhere to be found. Or maybe he's observing me from a distance. Florio died, but did he? The truth behind the other mysterious suicides had not been uncovered. Adolphe and the Corps were looking into the idea that drugs or hypnosis were used on the victims, but the fact that no reports had been made about it suggested that they had made no progress so far. But what if we learned about Boreo's background, his objective, and his victims? What if we found out who killed Boreo? What would Mathis do now that he was beginning to find peace? I could only imagine the worst, considering how much he loved his lost brother. Possible I'd like to put a hold on my deal with Unko, keep watch over Mathis for a while. Then again, I'm not sure what Unko would say if I asked for that. She didn't make a deal with him, though. She was like, I think I'm going to have to reject your deal. You know what I mean? Even though Boreo was already dead, because I was like, well, the guy's already dead, though. And then he was like, hey, there's more going on. But she didn't accept his deal, so... Alright. I decided to come back on a bright moonlit night in the hopes that he'd be here then. The next day, I officially began my job as a proper maid. After Mother and the children saw me off, I arrived at the mansion a few minutes early. I first greeted Jean, then began preparing breakfast straight away. I gave a modest nod to each wealthy resident of Cheetahs passing by on their morning routine. I was relieved to find that my maid outfit did well in hiding my identity. I filled a bucket with water for the laundry. John should be cleaning the guest room and dining room around this time, as well as checking the letters that arrived today. He apologized to me for the heavy workload on the first day, but this is easy compared to the orphanage. There was never a day that my clothes stayed clean with all the children around. And I was actually nervous now that I was wearing clothes of such quality. I better make sure I don't get it dirty or torn while I'm working. As I mumbled words of warning to myself, "Wah!" Somebody screamed, I don't know. A figure suddenly appeared, swiftly taking the clothing from my hands and tearing it in the process. You scared me! Mathis's face was pale, and he was glaring at me with teary eyes as he held the tattered remains. You don't need to do my clothes. I can wash them myself. His torn clothes. No, was that his underwear? That's what I was like, when he's like, you don't have to wash my clothes. And I'm like, why? It's your underwear, isn't it? You don't want me seeing your underpants. That's fucking funny. That's hilarious. Mathis did his best to hide it from my sight. But we can save water if we wash all the clothes at once. That's not the point. Don't any of the boys at the orphanage dislike having their underwear washed by girls? No, not really. Oh, now that you mention it, I do recall when Adolphe adamantly told everyone that he was going to start washing his own clothes. Right? You know what I'm trying to say, right? But Adolphe was busy taking care of the other children, so Mother and I washed his clothes anyway. Poor Adolphe. So funny. Oh, God. A few minutes later, and so I want to pay for Mathis's torn underwear, but before I could talk to Mathis about it, he ran upstairs and locked himself in his room. Unbelievable. It's my fault for not considering the master's innocence, but I never expected you to worry so much about it. You don't need to laugh. I finally understood why Mathis was so flustered after Jean explained the reason to me. I wash all the boys' clothes at the orphanage, so I thought it was normal in other households. This single chore made me keenly aware of the small world I had lived in until now. In any case, there's no need to apologize or pay damages. After all, this is the master's fault. I believe of greater importance will be to brew a delicious cup of tea to get on his good side. At his suggestion, I brewed a pot of the Claude family's favorite tea and stood in front of Mathis's room. Jean said that he probably wouldn't respond and that I could head inside without permission. Even so, I thought it best to attempt some communication, so I called out his name a number of times to no avail. Maybe he was trying to avoid me, or maybe he simply couldn't hear me. Odds were likely it was the former, but I was hoping it was the latter. It'd be great if he at least lets me deliver this tea to him. I quietly took a peek inside. Mountains of books were all over the place. In the corner was Mathis sitting on the floor with his back facing the door. I looked closer to see him reading something with great interest. How to Get a Girl. In his hand was a thick book. It seemed my earlier assumption was correct, and he was so absorbed in reading that he didn't even notice me. So focused. To think of it, he mentioned liking books. I remember him listening so intently to Cyan's story about the drifter. If so, I'd better not bother him right now. I decided to put the tea on the table and apologize to him later. I'd planned on that, but that smell. Jean, thanks for bringing me tea. What? The sweet fragrance of the tea ended up interrupting Mathis's reading session. He pleaded for me to stay, so I ended up having some tea myself, which opened up the way for us to exchange apologies. I'm sorry for the commotion this morning. I've never really been around girls apart from my family, but I never thought it'd be that embarrassing to see a girl wash my underwear. I was just doing the same work I usually do at the orphanage, so I felt bad now that I understood the meaning behind Adolphe's own words and actions back then. If I wasn't mistaken, Milo should be around the same age now. I should ask Mother to talk to him about it. It was important to remember for the future. I think this is the first time I've had such a close look at your room. Oh, sorry. Maybe it's just me. It seems like you have more books in here than before. Wow, surprised you could tell just by looking. Mathis finished his cup of tea, then reached out to a book on the table. The spine had some symbols on it. They were words I couldn't understand. This is an adventure story from another country. Since Arpachel's isolated from other countries, it's impossible to acquire their publications through normal means. As you know, there are strong ocean currents around the country. Shipwrecks, luggage, newspapers, and other items sometimes wash up on our shores with never before seen marine life. This book is just one of those finds. To be specific, it's a translated copy of one of those foreign books. I heard a lot of things drift here, but I didn't know books did too. Oh, but how was that book translated into the copy you have here? I mean, Arpachel doesn't really have the resources to learn foreign languages from the outside world, does it? I wasn't even sure when translations were first introduced to Arpachel during its isolation. Actually, the translations were done by the Claude family as part of our profession. Claude family, a family that once received a book of translations from the Drifter. This allowed them to translate knowledge and culture from any language that drifted to the country, which they then published and distributed to the people. Okay, so I wonder if... Well, you know what's weird? Wasn't he the one that asked Cyan, like, oh, what were the other books that the Drifter had? The Drifter gave Cyan's grandfather 4 books. Cyan's grandfather only kept the 1. Gave the other 3 back, but it sounds like translations were one of the other books. How do you know that wasn't one of the 4? Why would he have... You know? Huh. We've relinquished majority of our rights, but once I finish the basic education I need, I may receive an order from the royal family to work as the country's only translator. Meaning you'll be responsible for the future literary development of the country? That sounds really stressful. Yes, just thinking about it makes my stomach turn. But it won't be too bad if I get to read a lot of foreign books. Books from the outside world are really wonderful. They're novels in particular. Even though it's only text, reading them makes you feel like you're traveling through a distant land. It's like an entirely unknown world unfurling inside your mind. That's generally books. You know. Sounds like a real adventure. Having an adventure is just a dream in a small country like this. I can see how nice it would be to experience the wider world through reading books. It's been a while since I've read a new book for fun. Oh, then I can let you borrow this book that I really like. Huh? Are you sure? Yes, it's an adventure story with a male protagonist, so I don't know if you'll like it. This book is the best I have if you want to read about the outside world. Thank you very much. I'll let you know what I think after I finish reading it. This is the first time someone shared a book with me. It was blushing again. Too. It's a kind of strange feeling. Fallen in love over books. After having a friendly chat with Mathis, I left so that he could get back to his studies. I walked over to the guest room that Jean was cleaning and planned to report what happened when... Thank you very much for that cute expression. I was greeted by an amused Jean. It seemed the flash of light came from an iron box held in his hands. Don't surprise me like that! What is that? It looks too big to be a transmitter. Obviously a camera, dumbass. It's a camera. I trust you've heard of them, if only by name. Huh? That's a camera? A device used to capture images onto paper. It's so funny. Because we have this, like, reliver technology, but cameras are, like, ye olde-fashioned. Cars are, like, super ye olde-fashioned. You know what I mean? But I mean, they said we've spent so much time, effort, and money on reliver technology that they haven't really advanced other sciences much, so it makes sense. A magical device not found among commoners. Wow! I've heard they're so valuable that people hide where they keep them. I actually acquired this a few years ago through one of my connections. Seemed he was cleaning the camera after finishing his chores early. He took a picture of me just now to test the camera's functionality. Ever since you arrived here, the master has gotten much better, and once he's back to his former self, I'd love to take a picture of you two spending time together peacefully. I'm just choking over here. Oh, good God. And perhaps even Camille's spirit will appear in the background, proud of how much his brother has grown. Then you'll also need to take good care of your camera for your own sake. If you can take a picture of you and your girlfriend getting married, Camille may even appear to congratulate you both on your wedding day. I can already see Camille trying to make himself stand out in the picture. But I need to let him know not to touch my bride when the picture's being taken. He jokingly lamented the possibility as he looked over the camera lens with care. Yeah, can we just, never talk about Jean's girlfriend or future wife again? Ever? Jean, if you're usually standing by here in the mansion, are you able to see your partner enough? About that. The truth is, after her parents found out that neither of us intended to become relivers, they voiced their opposition to our relationship. So I'm unable to meet with her again until she can convince her parents otherwise. That's really sad, because Jean's not that old. But he's also not that young. You know what I mean? You would think most people are probably at least 20 or older. So, can't ever see her. But it's kind of here's the thing. Her parents won't Ain't she an adult, Jean? Can't she not be screw that shit? I'm running away and living here? You have a place. Mathis would have been sure, fine, whatever. We got a bazillion rooms. She could have come and worked here. You know what I mean? What? This sounds sus as fuck. It was then that I remembered the price that one had to pay to become a reliver. You mean you're both prioritizing your love ahead of prolonging your lives? Yes, I do not want my feelings for her to be reduced to a note in my record. I mean, that's valid. Which is why I've taken to heart that I will experience what life can offer in the 23 years allotted to me. Most people in this country thought about the price of becoming relivers, so it was common knowledge not to nurture feelings of love. Most relationships were like contracts based on the premise of mutual benefit. So, ye olde time marriages. I like it. Okay. I mean, I don't like it, but you know what I mean? I like that they thought of that, and they're like, oh, it's just a contract. It's mean you might enjoy the person you're married to. Oh, sure, no, this is cool, but you're not really, you know what I mean? Ye olde time marriages started out as contracts, and maybe some people grew to love their partner. That's never going to happen here. So it's a majority of, old time marriages. Of course, that didn't mean couples in love didn't exist, but in the end, many prioritized extending their lives over love, so such relationships rarely lasted that long. The love and commitment shown between Jean and his girlfriend was extremely rare, which was why it hurts me so much. Does Mathis know? He does, and I have his approval. Sorry you've been stuck with me all this time. When you two are able to marry, I want you to be happy without worrying about me anymore. Okay, I should have read that in Mathis's voice because those are his thoughts, but that's what he said. Sounds just like Mathis to think so little of himself. Yes, if he's determined to let me go, he will have to be a little more reliable. If my parents were still alive, they could look after the master, but under the present circumstances, it's more likely that I'll adopt him and elope with my beloved to the other side of the country. I sure hope your partner can convince her parents so that it doesn't come to that. Also, again though, convince her parents. Is she 17? Why is she gotta convince her parents? Doesn't it seem a little disturbing? I'm kind of concerned about this. it could have just been like a throwaway thing, just so like, because you're never gonna meet her, it doesn't really matter who she is. But like, I'm now very concerned about the trigger warning in the game that was like obsession with the minor. I was like, is that going to be us being obsessed with Mathis because he's like 17 and we're like 18? But that's like, what? That to me is not, shouldn't be a trigger. But now I'm like, is Jean's girlfriend like an actual child or some shit? Because like, she's got to convince her parents. She could just, I mean, I guess technically it might not be as bad as I'm making it because your parents are obviously relivers, so they're alive. Okay. She could be like 20 and they're like, no, you have to become a reliver. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And, but if they have money or status or something, it's not like she can just go, okay, bye. Like Hugo, it kind of sounded like, yeah, he came from a wealthy family, but he became a reliver and they were like, get the fuck out of our house. And like, they kind of kicked him out or some shit. Or for whatever reason. I don't know. But it sounds like, yeah, he has a wealthy family and he came from Cheetahs, but he doesn't live with them anymore because difference of opinions. So, like, that's the choice he made. He's going to support himself. Jean's girlfriend might not be able to support herself. But, like, I still think that there's ways around that. You know what I mean? Like, you have a job. If you don't want to become reliver, she could move in there with you and, like, she could still help out around, even if she's not being a maid like me. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have to be a maid because she might not have, like I know how to cook and clean. She might not know how to do that if she's a wealthy bitch. You know what I mean? But she could still live with. I don't think Mathis would be like, no. He'd be like, yeah, why don't you? You know what I mean? So there's just something weird about this. There's something weird about it, and I don't know. I don't know what's weird. But anyway. A few days had passed since I found out about Jean's relationship in an unexpected fashion. It had been a while since I was last at the marsh in Coen to buy some groceries. There was one in Cheetahs too, but the vegetables that Adolphe grew were sold only in this district. I feel like people aren't looking at me like I'm deaf nowadays. At least, that's how it seems. Perhaps the fact that I was chasing after Borio did it, as the stares of contempt I used to see weren't as blatant as before. But I still stood out from the crowd, so it was easy for people to notice me. Wow, I heard from Sister Salome about what was happening, but I never expected you to become the Claude family's maid. Look at that cute outfit of yours. It matches you perfectly. I agree. The fabric looks interesting, too. Thank you very much. It's actually very comfortable, so I like it, too. So what are you two doing here today? I was helping Lucas carry some of his work stuff to the orphanage earlier. Hugo accompanied us, but he ran off to buy something to drink as soon as Eve started to cough. I was just a little dust in my throat. It makes me wonder how old Hugo thinks I am. And we were going to ask around on our way back too, but from the looks of it, I bet he forgot already. Ask around about what? Well, have you seen this person before? I thought you might have seen her since you're working in Cheetahs now. He took out a sketch from his pocket. Drawn on the piece of paper was a beautiful woman with pretty makeup. Is it Jean's girlfriend? I don't think I've seen her before. You said she lives in Cheetahs? Well, she doesn't live there per se, but it seems like she's worked there before. Oh, is she one of the prostitutes? One of her friends asked me to help find her since she went missing 3 days ago. I wonder if oh, okay. Remember, it was in an earlier part where they were like, we were in like a little bar and there were like the two prostitutes talking back and forth and like, oh, you better watch out. I'm wondering if one of them is the one that's missing and then the other one is the friend, She said that her friends always move from place to place, so she doesn't think it's a huge deal, but Eve, being the good boy he is, took it upon himself to ask around in order to locate her whereabouts. Lucas smiled, saying that he was asked the same. I see. Then I'll be on the lookout for anyone who looks like her in Cheetahs. And I live near Cheetahs, so I'll keep an eye out as well. Thanks. You two are lifesavers, especially since there are a lot of restricted areas in Cheetahs that non-residents can't enter. Well, the Karoon has provided so much help that I'm grateful for the chance to repay you. Karoon?
Hey, are you by any chance the same Karun who got rid of Boreal a while ago?
Huh? Oh, yes. I mean, we were the ones chasing after Boreal. Forgive me, but you are. Lucas moved in front of me in response to the man's approach. Look at him protecting me. That's kind of adorable. You normally be like, oh. Like, oh, Lucas, he's so delicate, but we know he's strong as fuck. Again, another point in the Boreal, like, blue thing. You know what I mean? Anyway, the sus about that thing. I could see a unique mark peeking out from under his sleeve, which meant he must be a reliver.
I didn't mean to alarm you. I have no ill intention, so please don't worry. Just wish to extend my thanks to you all.
Your thanks.
Thank you for saving my family when I could not.
Avenge? Which means Boreal...
Yeah, he killed my brother a few years ago. I wanted to avenge his death myself, but so weak I can't even stand up against the Royal Guard.
Doesn't sound like the voice of someone who's so weak they can't stand up against the Royal Guard, but whatever.
I heard that Karun was able to finally put him down. So I was finally able to let go of my hatred and revive as a reliver.
He then gave us his thanks once more before taking his leave. Well, I guess by sending him to his death, others were saved. Still, I promised that I'd listen to him. I ask that you not think too hard about your promise to Boreal. After all, can you imagine how much worse things would get if Hugo returns to see you in this state? Right. A few days later, I'd finally grown accustomed to all the Claude family's tasks. After cleaning up after lunch, I took a break to read the book that I borrowed from Mathis. Mathis thought this might be boring for women, but it's a really fun read. Better not let it take too much time away from work. After reading for a while, I reached the end of one adventure and the beginning of another. Wonder what's going to happen next. I doubt the previous story arc would just be resolved that way. I honestly didn't see it coming. I wonder what Mathis thought when he was reading it. I'd love to hear his thoughts. I looked at the wall clock and saw that 15 minutes had already passed. I think Mathis should be taking a break from his studies about now. Maybe I can bring him some tea. And sometimes when you're studying, you want tea. Like any other day, I heard no response to my knocking, so I slowly opened the door. As expected, I saw him sitting at his desk. Mathis didn't notice anything around him when he was focused, so I was finally getting used to approaching him in his room. He looks a lot more focused than usual. I'll try to keep from surprising him. I slowly Wow. I don't know why my brain just fucking glitched out there. I was trying to say worked, and I was like, worked. I slowly walked toward him to call his name. Dear God. That was weird. It was then that I noticed he wasn't reading his textbooks. Papers? Is he writing something? Wait, could it be a novel? Oh, now he's hiding it from us. Oh, look at the cute little CG. I wonder if maybe if this is his first novel, or you wonder, hey, you should read this book. I don't know if you'll like it. I wonder if he wrote it. Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh my God, no, remember his brother used to write books? Do you think that book was his brother's and he's like gonna like pick up and continue where his brother left off? You know what I mean? Oh. I don't know when he handed it, like if the book was actually published. Well, I mean, your family is the publishing company for this country, so like I guess they would easily publish your like Camille's work because they loved him so much, you know what I mean? But I wonder if Mathis is continuing his work. Oh, I'm sorry. I would love if the book he gave us was his brother's. Spacey, you didn't see it, did you? Little actually. It just came into view. Out of curiosity, are you writing a novel? It didn't look like you were translating. Do you write stories too, Mathis? You must have known there was no avoiding the subject with how precise my question was. Precise? Jesus. Well, yes. I'm still early into it. I've been using the time I have between courses. Mathis confessed as he used his arms to cover the papers spread out before him. Huh, early? With all those papers? How? So what kind of story are you writing? an adventure story based in this country. In Arpachel, there are a lot of stories about the vast world beyond here, but I thought it might be rather interesting to write an adventure based on a small island like ours. That's wonderful. Arpachel's a country that's feared by its own citizens, so it sounds fun to have some kind of hope in a story about it. Can you tell me anything about the characters? Huh? Mathis is shaking, calmed down for a moment, as I carefully picked up some of the papers that had fallen to the floor. It's hard to explain verbally, so would you like to read it yourself? Are you sure? I carefully read the words that Mathis crafted onto each page. I love the fact that he's a little aspiring author. I feel like he took that from his brother. Like, oh. There were two main characters in his story. One was male and the other was female. Oh, it's a love story, and it's based on us. A curse upon the land took away their loved ones. The story went on to tell of an adventure where they and their friends worked together to defeat death itself. It's very parallel to the game and the Boreal adventure. It says death, but it's not about you, okay? I understand, but it ends just when things are getting interesting. Have you written more after this part? I'm still working on it. I have an idea, but the development seems too cliched at the moment. For example, the reliver who joins them ends up... don't tell me! I want to read that once the story's finished! As I covered my hands with my ears... That's exactly what the text says. That's not me. That is not a... Spacey, did you blue screen again? No, that is literally what it says. I'm reading it and I'm like, that is so wrong. As I covered my ears with my hands. Oh, Tim. Teach Ronald how things work. Jesus. Mathis looks surprised by my level of interest. I think that's the funniest typo we've ever had. You have a gift for writing immersive novels, Mathis. No, I'm nothing compared to my brother. Your brother wrote novels too? Yes. When I was little, he'd read me the stories he wrote. And most of them were with him as the hero, going around and defeating enemies in his adventures. Sounds like he had an impact on you. Well, we're brothers after all. See, if you really are interested in the story I'm writing, why don't we work on it together? Huh? According to Mathis, he seemed to hit a rut every so often as he worked on making the story more compelling. I was really trying, and that was a really long sentence, and I didn't take a breath. Jesus. So, it'd be a lot of help if you could brainstorm with me. I was overjoyed by his offer, but are you sure? I've never written a story in my life. Yes, I'm sure. Rather, I want you to help. As I considered his request, Mathis continued, I'm sure you'll be able to steer things in the right direction, no matter where the story goes. With your help, I know I'll be able to complete my story with a smile. Since his request, I'd been helping Mathis with the story during our spare time as I continued working as a maid. I was nearing the gate as I thought about how to finish the work that remained for the day when... Oh my! Is she the Claude family's new maid? It seems that way. I've seen her going in and out of the mansion. But I still haven't seen the new master of the family yet. New master? As in their second heir? Yes, he rarely ever steps outside. I didn't even know they had two sons until now. Their butler is very social, too. I sure hope the Claude family's in good hands with such a depressing successor. I didn't know they even had a because the parents were so abusive. That's so sad. I picked up some of the conversation between the Cheetahs women watching me. As we stare blankly at them like, bitch, I see you! I can hear you, I'm not deaf! I wondered how long people had been saying such things about this family. I'm sure they say that shit directly to Claude, which is sad. I mean, not Claude, John. That's a great idea. I kept thinking of having the story focused in town. Mathis didn't deserve their gossiping. In fact, he was a kind and gentle person who could smile as brightly as this. Well, since we're surrounded by the Lycoris fields, We might as well use it. Maybe there's a secret passage under the flowers that leads to Hades, and Mathis kept writing his thoughts onto a notepad for his story. I knew this would be a lot more fun with your ideas, Spacey. In fact, things are going so smoothly that my hand's starting to cramp from all this writing. No. If that's the case, why don't we call it a day with your writing? It seems you've become too focused to notice how late it's gotten. Huh? Oh, shoot! If I stayed any longer, Mother would be worried. Mathis, I'm so sorry to stop in the middle of this, but maybe we can pick it up tomorrow. Wait, what? I only noticed how that Mathis was face down on the table, sound asleep. The master is not much of a night owl, so he naturally falls asleep around this hour. I'll carry him to his bed, so you go on and hurry home before it gets too late. I will. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. I like how he's like, this is so much. It's like his fucking battery just turned off. He's a little bit of a robot, so. I quickly walked through the mostly empty streets. I then saw a couple of women walking toward me from up ahead. As I passed them, say, is there something you want to do once you get out? Sure, there are a lot of things I want to do. I'm sure you can guess the first one. Yeah, what I'd give to die and leave this cursed country. And live life with a beautiful new body and freedom. The sound of footsteps mingled with whispers from the beautiful flowers in bloom. Whispers that gently flowed into my ears. No, right, never mind, those were the two. Oh, we're in chapter 2 now of Mathis's route. Right, I forgot. Okay, I was like the two prostitutes were talking about something. They were talking about the deliverer or whatever, the person who could take them out. Like, so that's who they're talking about. So maybe those were the two prostitutes talking about it. But maybe that has something to do with the girl that's missing. You know what I mean? Like she heard about this. Was it the deliverer? That was like the person who could take you and deliver you out of this world or whatever. You know what I mean? So anyway. The man? Oh. I'm assuming, I don't know, it could be Mathis reading this narration, but I'm just going to go with Anko because, like, whatever. The man professed, I'm madly in love with you. The woman replied, you have bad taste. The man laughed. Yes, I couldn't agree more. But it can't be helped. I can't change who I love. The woman looked troubled. What if I were evil, like the god of death who cursed this country? Well, in that case, I'll become the same as you, a villain. I figured we could read that now before we end this part. I don't know. I'm actually gonna go in the flowchart and see who's speaking that line. Like if it's, whatever. But we'll stop here and we'll continue next time. So I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.